Subscribe to our YouTube channel and press the bell icon to get the latest updates.
We will start this episode of Cut the Clutter with a trick question. Who is the head of RAW, Research and Analysis Wing, that is India's external intelligence agency? This is not a classified fact, this is a public fact, but do you know that? Maybe those who are preparing for UPSC might know, but I am not even sure UPSC asks these questions, right? Who is the head of RAW? Chances are most of us don't know it offhand. No checking on Google. Who is the director of IB, Intelligence Bureau, our domestic or internal intelligence agency and our counter-intelligence agency? Very few would know. Who's the head of Indian military intelligence? Chances are almost nobody would know. But if I ask you who is the head of ISI in Pakistan, I'm quite sure that far too many of you, in fact almost all of you will say, oh, there was that Faiz Hamid guy. He was just seen in Kabul at Serena Hotel, stylishly lounging with a cup of tea, a cup without saucer, right? With his ambassador drooling all over him in Kabul. Looked like he was the new ruler of Kabul, right? You remember all that? And you might even know, because it's so much in the media, that he's now been moved, shifted, promoted, demoted. There is a big debate on as Corps Commander in Peshawar, as Pakistan's 11th Corps Commander in Peshawar. Now, you don't see these controversies, debates, this kind of romance with any intelligence appointment in India. Why? Simply because India is not a country which is run by any intelligence agency or a bunch of intelligence agencies. Forget one intelligence agency. Pakistan, on the other hand, oldest cliche about Pakistan is that in other countries own the army. In Pakistan, the army owns the country. But if you look at the ISI, it looks like the ISI owns everything in Pakistan. And that's why the appointment of the ISI chief is a very, very important thing. It is taken note of not just in Pakistan, not just in the neighboring countries, not just in India, but across the world. Because now we also know that for almost 4.5 decades, the ISI chief in Pakistan has also been the de facto commander of the Islamist forces in Afghanistan, whether these are the Mujahideen or the pre-Mujahideen groups that were set up in Bhutto's times, or after that the Taliban, etc. All of those are controlled by the ISI chief, and that is what Faiz Hamid was. And that is why it is such an important appointment. Now, with this long agenda setting preamble, I will tell you the news which you know, that Lieutenant General Faiz Hamid has now been moved as Corps Commander Peshawar. Those who think he's been demoted say that, oh, because he was doing so well as ISI chief, he was so powerful, he'd only been in the job for 2 years, he's been moved away because he messed up, becoming too visible in Kabul, etc. And also the way Afghanistan has turned out, Pakistan can declare victory, but it has left the Americans and some other very key allies of the Pakistanis very unhappy, etc. So that is, I will give you my view on what I think is right. The second school is, which is the more dominant school, is that look, he's only been moved as Corps Commander because in Pakistan it's a convention that to become Army Chief of Army Staff, you should have served as a Corps Commander. Corps in some ways in Pakistan, not exactly, but in some ways in Pakistan, a corps is the equivalent of, say, an army or a command in India. In some ways, not in size, not because anything, because Pakistan has many more corps than India has commands. But in India, a command has multiple number of corps. In Pakistan, each corps commander, a lieutenant general, is somebody who could become chief, because that is the rank after corps commander in Pakistan. There is no army commander. So you have to serve as an operational commander or commander of an operational corps to become army chief. What this does is, this puts Faiz Hamid now in line, not to become chief, but in line to be among the 4 from whom the chief may be decided next year. Maybe if the current chief, that is Qamar Javed Bajwa, agrees to step down or decides to step down and go away into the sunset, or to play golf or maybe to do other things. His predecessor, in fact, went to become an advisor, military advisor to the Saudi government, Rahil Sharif. So, November of 2022, Qamar Javed Bajwa retires from his second term. He got a 3-year extension, as you would know. Pakistan has a lot of extensions and too few army chiefs. So I will not take you back to 1947, but if I just take you back to 1972, that is after the Bangladesh war, so a new Pakistani structure emerged. And that in 1972 is also when India had Chief of Army Staff, General Manik Shaw, then General, retired. Since then, India has had 20 army chiefs and Pakistan has had just 10. And chances are, before Pakistan gets its 11th, India will already have its 21st, because in India, army chiefs serve their tenure. In Pakistan, very many of them get extensions so they can carry on for a long time. General Kiani went on for a long time. Under Musharraf, he got extensions. Now Bajwa has gone on for a long time. Under a civilian administration, first under Nawaz Sharif, now under Imran, he's got an extension, and some keep on giving extensions to themselves. You know, there was Ayub Khan, I mean, he was Field Marshal. He might have had an army chief, somebody called an army chief, but he was Field Marshal. Musharraf, he was doing everything for a long time. So you have those characteristics in Pakistan because it's a militablishment run state. And that's why the appointment of the ISI chief becomes very important, because in Pakistan, all intelligence services in a way are subsumed by the ISI. This is not like India, where intelligence agencies compete with each other, bring in sometimes differing inputs to the government of the day, and sometimes, unfortunately, work at cross purposes also. That's how institutions and democracies work, like it or not. But in Pakistan, ISI is the umbrella under which everybody sits. So that's why this appointment is so crucial. It's also the powers, the money that the ISI has. ISI has enormous amounts of resources which are not accounted for. In fact, there are elements of the ISI which has now been documented, written about, who are not even in the control, forget being in the control of the elected government of the day. Very little is in control of the elected government of the day, but not even fully in control of the army chief. And within the ISI, there are now proliferations which are not always controlled by the ISI chief himself. You want to read more about that? Read about something called Directorate S. Various authors have written about it, but Directorate S is like a name for an institution within an institution. Within the ISI, if the ISI is an institution within an institution, which is the Pakistan Army, Directorate S is an institution within the ISI which has its own momentum, its own ideology and its own continuity, right? So this is a book by my old friend Steve Call, who just announced today coincidentally that he'll be stepping down next summer after 9 years as the Dean of Columbia School of Journalism. He is the finest reporter, editor of our times. Read his books. You keep on asking me to recommend some odd book every now and then. So this is my recommendation for today. So now, General Faiz Hamid moves to Peshawar. What that does is, in a year, now he will be qualified to be a candidate for the chief. His position has now been taken over by Lieutenant General Nadeem Mehmed Anjum, who's the new ISI chief. He comes in from Quetta. He was Corps Commander Quetta. Before that, he was Inspector General of Frontier Corps. What is Frontier Corps? Maybe a bit like Assam Rifles, I'd say. So he was there. So he's now coming in as ISI chief. Now what happens is that in Pakistan, because chiefs tend to carry on forever, right? So a lot of the others waste away. And I don't know how they deal with it, because a lot of the people must be very frustrated that this guy keeps on getting extensions and I will now reach my retirement age and go away, I will fade away. So I lost my chance for the top job. So just recently, just this month, 3 of the senior most Pakistani lieutenant generals have retired. So those 3 have gone away. 7 more would retire before November 22 next year, which means 10 of these, and meanwhile, God knows how many more have retired, who would have gone home ruining the fact that because somebody got an extension, they did not get a chance. So the line of succession got upset or unsettled. Now, when these people retire by November 22, in November 22, if Bajwa goes, four senior most Pakistani Lieutenant Generals will be Lieutenant General Sahir Shamshad Mirza, who's currently commanding the 10th Corps. 10th Corps is based in Rawalpindi, a key corps. Lieutenant General Azhar Abbas, who has already commanded 10th Corps, so he has ticked that box. He's now Chief of General Staff in the headquarters. That doesn't mean anything. It has no weightage over who becomes a chief. The number 3 is Lieutenant General Noman Mahmood, who's currently commanding 11 Corps, that is in Peshawar. He will now be succeeded by Faiz Hamid. And 4th, of course, Faiz Hamid. All 4 are from the same course of Pakistan Military Academy. That is one convention, that 4 names, 4 senior most names from the same course in Pakistan Military Academy are sent forward to the Prime Minister, who apparently chooses the winner. Now, apparently, I'm saying it very consciously, because the powers that be are still in the GHQ. So somebody might just say, all these people are equal, but we think this guy is more equal than the other. Now, what are the chances of Faiz? And of those, the larger school says that he's only been moved out of ISI so that he can also command a corps for a year. So he's also qualified to be a chief. So he's now most likely to be the next chief. Now the counter argument to that works and doesn't work. The counter argument is, of the 4 senior most lieutenant generals whose names go to the Prime Minister next year, provided there is a Prime Minister and it's the same Prime Minister, in that case, Faiz Hamid will be the junior most of the 4, junior most in seniority and qualifications, etc. Because within the same batch, there is seniority. But so you might say that, oh, then he has the least chance. But you know, in Pakistan's history, it doesn't mean that the senior most always gets it. In fact, sometimes the opposite happens. The last time the senior most Lieutenant General got the job was General Jahangir Karamat, which was almost 25 years ago, and he was a charismatic, professional soldier, fine soldier. I also knew him well because after retirement, he was part of a Track 2 group, of which I was also a member. He left his service early. He is one of those honorable Pakistani army chiefs who, unwilling to play politics, resigned from his job. He was not fired, and he did not fire the government of the day. In fact, he had disagreements with the government of the day, then Nawaz Sharif's, and he quit midway. So he was the only one in recent memory who was the senior most who got the job. If you look at Pervez Musharraf, he superseded 3, right? Ashfaq Kayani, Raheel Sharif after that, General Bajwa. Each one has superseded the 3 senior to them. So if you go by that record, then it looks like, since this looks like a straight line, the junior most always gets it. So it looks like that Faiz Hamid will probably get it. And that's why you will find that Maryam Nawaz Sharif's daughter and heir apparent, she held a very fiery press conference attacking Faiz Hamid, particularly for his politicking, the game he has played vis-a-vis installing the Imran government and also getting rid of the Nawaz Sharif government, etc., etc. So this plot is now on. If I take a line from a column in Pakistan's leading newspaper Dawn, I like that line. I wish it was my line, but it isn't, so I will borrow it from them. So thank you, Dawn. It says, all bets are on, except all bets are off. Now, before I let you go away, let me also ask you yet another trick question. Now, I told you in the very beginning that the ISI chief in Pakistan is very important, probably the most important person after the army chief. Now, first of all, you tell me how many army chiefs' names do you remember? Chances are, mostly it will be the chiefs who either became presidents, who staged a coup, or chiefs who got long extensions, etc. Right? Otherwise, you will not remember the names of other chiefs. For example, I don't know how many would remember the name of General Abdul Wahid Kakar. It so happens that he was the last Pakhtun chief of army staff in Pakistan, right? Asif Nawaz Janjua before that, he died in Harness. After that, Jahangir Karamat I just mentioned to you, and then you would remember Musharraf for sure, Raheel Sharif, sort of, because he's too recent. Bajwa, yes, long extensions. And you'd remember Kayani. Kayani, why? Because he was the ISI chief and he was also the army chief. And remember, his is the only case in Pakistan of a former ISI chief becoming the army chief. How good he was, I don't know, because he lives in retirement now, but he takes with him in his head and in his heart the secret of who was harboring Osama bin Laden in Abbottabad and who sold away Osama bin Laden in Abbottabad to the CIA and for how much. Because earlier in that same period, he was the ISI chief and then he was the army chief. So very canny, very clever, but not sure anybody in Pakistan thinks that he made the best chief of army staff. So once again, now I'm going on the side of, I'm tilting to on the side of those who think that Faiz Ahmad has been sidelined from the ISI, that the record of a former ISI chief making the chief, army chief, is not very good. Frankly, an ISI chief should think that my job is more important, more powerful than that of the army chief. So now that I've been an ISI chief for a couple of years, मैं army chief लेके क्या करूँगा? What's the point of becoming army chief? Or maybe that's the reason former ISI chiefs are usually not made army chiefs, because they've known too much about everybody already. So even within the army, there might be insecurities about them. So we don't know. There will be these 4 candidates next year, and General Nadeem, who's now becoming ISI chief, if everything plays by the book and by the service date, then he will retire towards the end of 2023, but he'll be in the saddle as ISI chief in August 2023 when the term of this National Assembly in Pakistan ends. Pakistan then has a system of going under a caretaker government, an interim government. The same government does not become caretaker. An interim administration is set up, and that's where ISI and the army become very important, because while the voters elect somebody, it is the establishment that selects who will be the next prime minister. So he will then be in the saddle as ISI chief. So maybe that's also part of the calculations that he should be there. Now, just because we talked about the Pakistani army and I told you they had the core system much more than the army system as we do. We have Western Army, Northern Army, Northwestern, Southwestern Army. We have like that. But the Pakistanis have one corps that is at Mangla in Pak-occupied Kashmir. That faces Kashmir, most of Kashmir. They have 2 corps in Multan, that is in the desert sector, facing Rajasthan and Punjab, South Punjab. 4 corps in Lahore. That is more like a holding corps, at least from its disposition right now, it looks like that. 5th corps in Karachi, that is kind of a Sindh corps. 10th corps in Rawalpindi, very important. 11th corps in Peshawar, where Faiz Hamid is now gone. 12th corps in Quetta, from where General Nadeem has come in as ISI chief. 30th corps in Gujranwala. 31st corps in Bahawalpur, which is also in Punjab. Gujranwala, Bahawalpur, Pindi, Lahore, Multan, these are all in Punjab, Pakistani Punjab. And then there is an Army Air Defence Command in Rawalpindi, and there is an Army Strategic Forces Command also in Rawalpindi. Now, let me then ask you, I told you about Kayani, and you know the current ISI chief's name. How many ISI chiefs' names can you remember or tell me just from the top of your head? Again, no Googling. Chances are that you will remember only one. Most of us will remember from the top of our heads only one, and that is Lieutenant General Hamid Gul. He was ISI chief only for 2 years, between 1987 and 89. But he was the founder of the most Islamist and the best armed, the best trained and the best motivated factions, not just of the Mujahideen, which became Taliban later, but also of the Lashkars in Pakistan, which then grew into such monsters for India as well as for the rest of the world. So he was the one who founded it. So the name you remember most of all is the name that was the most mischievous, that is Hamid Gul, just 2 years. If I mention the names after that, Shamsur Rahman Kallu, Asad Durrani, you might know because he wrote a book alongside Mr. Dulat in India and became controversial. Javed Nasir, Javed Ashraf Qazi, Naseem Rana, Ziauddin Butt, Mahmood Ahmad, Ahsanul Haq. You will not know most of those names. So once again, how important and how significant an ISI chief is also a function of the period of history for which he was there. For example, we remember Ashfaq Parvez, Kayani, not just because he became a chief later, but because he was the ISI chief at a particular time. So that's why my friend in Don writes that all bets are on, but all bets are off, because we don't know if the outgoing ISI chief will be the next army chief. We don't know if the incoming ISI chief will be more activist, less activist, more ideological, less ideological, more mischievous, less mischievous than the earlier one. We don't also know whether General Bajwa will go next year or not, because it's not impossible. It's very unlikely, but it's not impossible tomorrow that the government may be told to say that, look, our security environment is so bad around Pakistan right now that we cannot afford a change of leadership in our armed forces.